Welcome to the Eye of Power podcast. I'm your host, Tom Dardick. But this podcast is not about me. It's about you and your power. It's time to claim yours. Today on the Eye of Power podcast, I'm going to do something I have been wanting to do for quite some time and finally getting to it. A book review. And it is a book that I've referred to many times over the course of the program. You may be familiar with it, you may not be. If you are, I'd say it's always a good review to look at it. And if you're not, I'm going to recommend it extremely highly. The book I'm talking about is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And the four agreements are really kind of magical in the sense that they can transform. I'll give you a sort of a lowdown of each of the four and what I've experienced in my life going through it. And I hope that'll be a good takeaway for you. The Four Agreements, a Toltec wisdom book. What's Toltec? Well, that's American Indian wisdom tradition. Really, I say American Indian. American Indian is quite a wide term. It covers many cultures. This is in the southwestern part of the Americas. The idea is that this life that we lead is a bit of a nightmare. He calls the nightmare the mitote, M-I-T-O-T-E, the mitote. And we're all in the mitote unless we can manage to scramble our way out of it. The mitote is a nightmare because it is characterized by deception, lies, struggling, pain, suffering, things that we all experience in our lives. The path out of it is simple but difficult, and it is the Four Agreements. We're in the mitote because of what we believe, and we get out of the mitote because of what we believe. Now, how do we get our beliefs to change? How do we manage a growth out of the mitote? The first agreement, the very first one, starts us on the right path. That agreement is be impeccable with your word. What does that mean? Well, have you ever decided to do something, tell yourself that you're going to do something, and then not do it? Have you ever committed to an appointment and then not kept it? Have you ever told somebody you were going to do something for them and forgot about it? These are all examples of not being impeccable with your word. Being impeccable with your word is like respecting your relationship with the truth, with reality. Being impeccable with your word is simple to understand, very difficult to do. Why? Because we are complicated. When I talk about the eye of power, I always talk about, I'll ask people, have you ever made a New Year's resolution and not keep it? And of course, most people can relate to that. That is not being impeccable with our word. But the question is why? And what I usually say is, well, we see those parts of ourselves kind of like the iceberg above the water, but there's a whole lot that's below the water. In this case, there's aspects of ourselves that we don't consider in our conscious minds. And by not considering that, we don't have a coherent and complete image of what's real and true within. And if we don't have a image of what's real and true within, it makes it very difficult to be impeccable with our word. Now, I first was exposed to the Four Agreements over 20 years ago. It made sense to me, and I tried it, and I've worked with it. I've kept it top of mind aware. I've always tried to work in these directions, and it's made a huge difference for me. But am I completely impeccable with my word? No. It's aspirational. I try my best, but my best is not yet good enough. So I think it's something that we need to be uh, intentional about, and we need to work on. And even when we do, we're always a work in progress. With the eye of power, We look at the specific areas that reduce our agency. And I think it's a great way to enhance a journey towards being impeccable with our word. It's something that gets us woken up to reality. So when we're not impeccable with our word, we let ourselves down, we let other people down. That causes a string of consequences that we would not choose. Therefore, we are in the matote. When we are impeccable with our word, the opposite is true. It triggers a positive spiral. We become more solid, more grounded in reality, somebody that people can count on. You know in your life people that when you make plans with them, you might make them in pencil. People that I know that I love, that I am close with, are like that. And I still make plans with them in pencil. Not that I don't love them, not that I don't value the relationship, but I know that I really can't count on them to show up when they say they're going to show up. I really couldn't count on them to be there if something really, really was important. If you think about yourself, would you want that quality for yourself? Would you want to be the kind of person that people just don't feel like they can count on? Or would you want to be the kind of person that people know it's solid? You say something, you might as well write it in stone unless some unforeseen circumstance prevents it. And I think most people would choose the latter. And the path towards that is being impeccable with your word. The second agreement of the four agreements is don't take anything personally. Now, have you ever been insulted by somebody? Have you ever felt wronged? Have you ever felt like somebody gossiped about you and it bothered you for days? These are examples of taking things personally. Don Miguel's case for not taking things personally is he points to the fact that we don't really know fully other people. There's no way for us to walk in their shoes, to understand everything they've experienced, to understand how they look at things, to understand how they form their values and their perceptions. Furthermore, we are beings of limited perceptive power. I say that all the time. And what does that mean? That means that we don't really see the world. The world is far more complicated than our processing powers and our senses can provide to us. We don't see in high resolution. We are very poor recorders of events. What we are great storytellers. We're great interpreters of our experiences. The way that we do this is we use models. So I talk about the eye of power model. It's a model. It helps us understand things more clearly. Well, everything that we perceive is based on a model. We have models of everything that we do, our clothes that when we get up, our what we think is the best way to go about the day is a model. What we think about other people, our visions of other people are all models. They're all stories. They're all constructs in our head that represent our perceptive powers, the story that we tell about that in relation to how it intersects with us. In all cases, the model is not the thing itself. The map is not the territory. So that means that when we mistake the map for the territory, we are subject to fairly big errors. When we think that something is the model is the reality, we can get dogmatic and close-minded, stop being in the question. When we think about other people and we think we know them completely, we make a mistake because all we really know is the model. So when people surprise us or disappoint us, it's because our model did not match the actual reality. And that's true for every single person at all times. So when somebody reacts to us and somebody does something that you think is insulting or triggering or something like that, and you take any kind of reaction about it, you're actually giving your energy and your power away. You're actually allowing them to affect you based on their model, not the reality of what's true about you. And so we lose power that way. And that's how we get into all kinds of problems with jealousy, envy, resentment, anger, these negative feelings that all come from us giving our power away to say, okay, this person wronged me because they should have known or they should have treated me this other way. The assumption being that they knew any better, which in all cases they didn't and they don't. So this is a tough one. Most of us struggle with this one, not taking things personally. But I got to say, it really does have a lot of power. It's one I've worked on, again, myself for over 2 decades now. And I've had some circumstances where I could have gotten very, very angry along that way. And I've learned to use this to increase my, let's call it, grace. If not grace, at least detachment and ability to rise above, see the best in the situation, and at least not be thrown off my game. Closely related to the second agreement is the third agreement: make no assumptions. Again, I was just talking about how we have to form models because we have limited perceptive powers. So everything that we think, every perception we have is based on a story, a model that we are telling ourselves about an aspect of the world. It is not the world itself. In the third agreement, we learn not to make assumptions because making assumptions is essentially the same thing as assuming that our models are real, that what we think is the actual thing. This is another thing that's very difficult because we do have limited time, limited bandwidth. We can't simply ask every single question in every single new situation. Time doesn't allow us to do that. So we have to make assumptions. But what we want to make sure is we don't make foolish assumptions or assumptions that get us into trouble. And how I've worked over the years to get better in this regard is to learn to be more in the question. So when I'm in a conversation that I'm trying to understand or trying to learn, I actively try to ask more questions, stay in the question, wonder, okay, I used to think this. What about that is incomplete? Not that I necessarily was wrong or that the model that I've currently had didn't serve me well, but that it respects the fact that my model it could use some work at all times, and get a little bit playful and explorative about finding out those aspects of the model that could use a little bit more resolution. And the best way for that is questions. So making no assumptions means you're going to ask more questions. And I've found, as a matter of fact, my last podcast episode, I was talking very specifically about this, where being in the present moment, not being distracted, getting out of routine, getting out of the things that we sort of learn to just constantly do, and being more focused on, okay, what's really going on here? How do I actually meaningfully enjoy or connect or live in this moment? Leads us in this direction, away from assumptions and more towards play, discovery, being, being present for somebody, wanting to know about them, giving them the gift of a soul to soul connection because you're present for them. This is a tremendous habit to have. It brings us out of the matote because in the matote, everybody's it's like the Tower of Babel. It's you're everyone's speaking a different language in a sense. Everyone's models are different, so we're talking past each other. We think we know what each other mean, but kinda, but not really. And therefore, the quality of our connections, the quality of our relationships, the level of energy, the level of connection that we have all suffer. It's a tremendous habit and skill to build. And the fourth agreement, the final one, is always do your best. This is a way that you can hit the pillow at night with a clear conscience, knowing that you had no control over what you couldn't control. All you can really do is bring your best self to the table each and every day. And that is a excellent strategy for feeling satisfied and avoiding things like depression or things like feeling frustrated, feeling powerless, feeling like there's not a lot of meaning in your life. If you bring your best self to the day, and that doesn't mean a perfect self. That doesn't mean you don't make mistakes or miss opportunities or say things you wish you'd said something different. No, we're all human, and there's no magic potion that gets us out of that. Doing our best means having our power to make the decisions that we would make in retrospect, and that we do have a control for. And that's really ultimately what the eye of power model is about. It's about maximizing that which we can control. We spend a lot of energy worrying about, thinking about, wishing, trying to control the knobs of other people. You don't have that control. No one does. We can influence, we can inspire, but each person is the person that has actually the control of those knobs, of whatever those knobs control, whether it be what they are going to have for breakfast, what they're going to wear that day, and more importantly, the kind of person that they want to be, the kind of things that matter most to them, whether I'm going to be respectful or not, whether I'm going to continue to do habits that I know are detrimental to either myself or other people. These are things that we do have control over. I know that in addiction, we can get into some topics there where the addict loses control. In a certain sense, that's true, but it's not the powerful path. The powerful path is we take 100% responsibility. It's sort of analogous to conversations. I cannot control the person I'm speaking with, but if I take 100% ownership of the outcome of conversations, even though it does take two to tango, my outcomes become better. And I would say the same thing's true if you have a pattern, whether it be a full-out addiction or a tendency or just an ingrained habit. Taking 100% ownership as though you have full control over that is a more powerful paradigm. In that sense, I think we can move towards always doing our best. And that I think that's a good way to gain more of our power, regardless of what the actual psychological or physiological mechanisms may be at play. Don Miguel wraps up the four agreements in talking about how the Toltecs, those that were achieved the wisdom to break free of the mitote, by looking at how we break past agreements in order to be free. The contention is that we're actually not free. And if you think about it, I think it's true. If we're not free to be able to change a pattern, change a habit, make a resolution and keep it, we are at least to some degree in a bit of a bind. The Toltec way is a way of life, and he wraps up by talking about three masteries. The first mastery is awareness. That's what we're doing right now. We're talking about a topic. You either may be familiar with it or you may be reminded about it, something that left the top of mind awareness, or it might be something brand new to you. But we can make no changes. We cannot grasp any of our freedom until we have awareness. So it's expanding that awareness, being in the discovery process, exploring, asking questions that allow us to be open and become aware. That's the first mastery. The second mastery is the mastery of transformation, how to change, how to be able to do something new that we haven't done before. The final mastery he calls the mastery of intent, which is using our consciousness to manifest that which we believe important. And as you peel that onion away, you find out, and he calls it the mastery of love. The mastery of love is really the path away from suffering and of detachment, of feeling that there's no meaning. It's not love in the emotional sense, it's love in the connection sense, it's love in the manifesting sense, it's love in the valuing sense. So when we are masters of love, we are able to manifest and value that which leads towards freedom, towards respect, towards the things that we hold dear and highest because they provide us with some of the things in this world that we love to experience the most. So that in a nutshell is the four agreements. If you do not have a copy, please get yourself one as soon as possible. Read it. It's a short book. It's 130 or so pages of reading and small pages, very, very easy to read. Again, easy to understand, easy to keep to memory, difficult to actually do. And it represents really a life's work. And it is very much incompatible. And I have to say that a lot of what informed the Eye of Power model, I'd say I learned from Don Miguel and the Toltec wisdom tradition, where we do manifest freedom and love and try to wake up from the nightmare of the matote. So whatever's in your life that causes pain, we talk about the pain quadrant. It's this quadrant right here. I can move my hand in the right direction. Uh, Pain is there to help us move away from that which is unhealthy, and or to notice where energy is blocked. So it is actually our friend, our ally. It's a wake-up call. Yeah, it doesn't feel good because it doesn't want us to stay in that place. So we need to have a healthier relationship with pain in order to move in a direction of greater clarity, which is the perception quadrant. So these are the things that we do and think about ourselves, and so that we are freer, more present, more able to manifest, more solid to other people, easier for people to understand, count on. That helps us in the people quadrant. And finally, when we are become masters of love or manifestation, we find how we utilize our gifts, develop them to the greatest use possible, and we work in the purpose quadrant to contribute to people in ways that only we can. So that's how the four agreements and the Eye of Power model kind of are saying a little bit of the same thing. Four quadrants in the Eye of Power model, four agreements. I'm not sure they exactly correspond, but it is very good evidence that these are pretty robust models that can be useful for us. And so check it out. And if you have any experiences with that, let's talk about it. Please reach out, and I'd be happy to engage in a high quality conversation on how you can become more free, more powerful, more fully the expression of what's unique and great about you. Thank you so much. This has been the Eye of Power podcast with Tom Dardick. I'd like to thank you for listening. I'd also like to thank my brother Scott Dardick for the music and his music production. If you'd like to reach me, simply email Tom at dardickcommunications.com